What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Inuyashiki episode review. This is actually going to be the finale review of Inuyashiki, which is episode 11. That's right, only 11 episodes of Inuyashiki for this season, which is actually the last season, because this episode actually finishes off the entire story of Inuyashiki. So, today we will be discussing the finale, episode 11 of Inuyashiki. So without further ado, let us begin. So when it comes down to this week's episode of Inuyashiki, the finale episode to Inuyashiki, this week's episode was very, very emotional in terms of what it presented and how it just wrapped everything up. But while it was a very emotional episode, it was also a very predictable ending and episode as well, just on how, it wrapped everything up. But this was kind of expected, leaps and bounds before we even, got close to the ending, to be honest, because just on how this show plays out, it reminds me so much, and I mean so much, of various other forms of literature that I have either read or seen. It follows a very predictable plot point, so I mean, it's a very simple story as well. It's not the most original thing out there, and when it came down to the end of this episode with Hiro and Inuyashiki working together finally in order to destroy the asteroid, I mean, that also was predictable, because that was the only source of redemption, necessarily, that Hiro could have done for the people. I mean, he was going to be hunted down regardless, up until they finally eventually destroy him. And, I mean, it's not like he can do anything else. He has no arms as well, and pretty much everyone in the world hates him. So even if he is, caught alive, there are still going to be repercussions for that. So the only thing that, he really could have done was just to give up his life along with Inuyashiki in order to save the people. And that's exactly what happened in the conclusion to Inuyashiki. And it was very depressing. It was very depressing, especially to see Inuyashiki go. It wasn't anything that surprised me. I had a feeling that by the end of the series, both of them would, in fact, after the confrontation that they have, they end up giving their lives for the planet, necessarily, because that asteroid is also something that you had to take into consideration for that. But I'm surprised they didn't really give us updates and, focus on the asteroid, more in the series. They only really talked about it once, and then pretty much showed the asteroid coming into orbit within this episode. So honestly, they really could have focused on the asteroid a little bit more, in my personal opinion. It's not like, I guess, the biggest deal, but I'm pretty sure the asteroid has a little bit more showcasing as to when it is exactly expected within the series in the manga. At least that's my personal thoughts. I haven't read the manga. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments down below for those of you who have. But I personally feel in the anime they could have put a little bit more focus on the asteroid. So maybe if we just stretched out the series just a little bit more, we probably could have got more updates and other, stuff relating the asteroid. But it's not the biggest deal. But anyway, so when it comes down to Inuyashiki, from what we also saw in this episode, not only do we see that, really sad moment by the ending of this episode, but we also see that eventually, actually in the beginning of this episode, eventually the family comes to realize that their father is actually a machine. And, this is the thing about it that really irked me in the beginning of the series, because we all knew where this was headed. We all knew where this was headed, but just by watching episode 1. From when you see the family and their, actions towards Inuyashiki, it's just something that really irked me since episode 1. I just couldn't believe it, to the point to where only a dog is able to care for Inuyashiki, and to where he only feels compassion and love from that dog in return. Like, it really was messed up. And when you see, finally, Inuyashiki become a machine, you begin to wonder, is the family going to have a second thought once they figure it out? And by the ending, that's exactly what happened. I'm sorry, but if you couldn't accept Inuyashiki for the individual that he was, throughout your whole life, or just in general, someone your whole life that you have been with, if you can't accept that individual, I mean, like, seriously, fuck you. fuck you. The individual has to do something grand or extraordinary in order for you to actually care for that individual again. Like, I'm sorry, that is just, it's messed up. It's really messed up. So that is definitely something that irked me in the, the series, but I'm assuming it was done purposely. But regarding the families, sorry, but Inuyashiki deserves better. But yeah, who can deny that the President Trump scene in this episode of Inuyashiki was just hilarious. It really was. And the Japanese interpretation of Trump is like literally the exact same in just real life. How just ridiculous some of his statements are. It was just very funny. The dialogue and just even the voice actor just did a funny job at just presenting Trump. So I really enjoyed that part of the episode. It was just kind of to give a little bit more comedic relief, because from seeing, a very sad ending, or excuse me, from a sad beginning, and then moving on up to the way to where Inuyashiki is spending his time with his family, when he used to spend time with his family, do things with his wife and stuff like that, all those flashbacks, memories, and time spent together were all coming back to him, and they had to fill that gap right there, because when you move on over to the ending, it gets sad again, and then has a bittersweet ending to the point where after Inuyashiki eventually, self-destructs along with Hiro, the following few days we find out that Mari Inuyashiki, the daughter of Inuyashiki, eventually won the Shonen Jump contest, and she is going to, continue her dream as a manga author in the Inuyashiki name. So the ending kind of left off with that Inuyashiki now carries on, alongside his daughter, or, his family in general, so people will still remember, their name. So I liked on how exactly that episode left off with that factor. So yeah, regarding Inuyashiki, wasn't the most original show, but it was definitely a good one. It had a predictable story, but the way on how it presented itself, made up for it. It wasn't, it did have its little, tropes and stuff that it followed, regarding other forms of literature, good versus evil, certain themes like that, but the way it presented itself was very engaging, and I thought really well done. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you guys think of Inuyashiki? In my personal thoughts and opinion, it was a very good episode, very good series, and also in this episode, when the music was playing over Inuyashiki's death and everything, man, one of the best parts of the episode. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about Inuyashiki in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think about Inuyashiki? I just want to hear your overall thoughts. Do you think that it is anime of the season? In my personal opinion, I think it is definitely a contender for anime of the season. In my personal opinion, it probably is my anime of the season, because that's just how much I enjoyed it compared to the other shows that we have gotten this season. Not to say that the season has been bad, but in terms of my personal, enjoyment of this series, I would say that I've had the most fun watching Inuyashiki, and that's why I would say that it's probably my anime of the season. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of it? And, yeah, with that said, be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed. Hit the red subscribe button down below if you want to see more. And with that said, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all